So my name is Kelly Coughlin. I am the Senior Career Manager here at the Office of Career Services within the Costello College of Business, and I'm joined by Flore from Maximus. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. My name is Flore Dorcely-Mohr, and I'm the Senior Manager for Campus and Early Careers Recruiting at Maximus.
That's right. And as some of you probably know, Maximus is one of our corporate partners, which we are very proud of and thrilled to have them here. Flore, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us an introduction to Maximus and kind of
Sure.
types of roles that you recruit for.
Perfect. Yeah. So, what is campus and early careers? Early careers is internships, it's rotational programs. We also do some entry level positions. Entry level it means 0 to 3 years of experience around. That's the sweet spot. So, junior level roles, you might see associate analyst roles. Those are the roles that we hire for. We are a global government services and technology consulting company. So, we provide technology solutions for our clients, and all of our clients are governments. So governments at the state level, federal level, foreign governments hire us. We're in 6 countries outside the United States, or I think it's including the United States at this point. And we're in every state of the union. But our headquarters, why GMU is so fantastic to partner with, our headquarters is right here in Northern Virginia, Tyson's Corner, McLean, Virginia. So, we have obviously a lot of great opportunities within this area. But the cool fun fact is that we have about 60 or 70%, I'd say a good majority of our roles are 100% remote. So you can be anywhere in the United States, like me. I actually live in New Jersey, so I'm in beautiful downtown Montclair, New Jersey, but I, travel as needed, and my whole team is remotely distributed as well. So you'll find even with the internships, that same ratio applies. So yeah, I think I answered your question. Probably went a little bit further, Kelly.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. No, and that is not something you find a lot either, is those still 100% remote roles, as there's so much more emphasis on getting back into the workplace and the in-person stuff. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
we have those too, I should say.
Yeah.
We have, so we have hybrid, we have on-site, but the majority of our roles, what we're finding is, even before the pandemic, that was the way that our clients didn't mind us working, and that our employee force liked to work as well. So we have those opportunities as well if you want to be on-site.
Right. Wonderful. I'm continuing to let people into the room.
Yeah, I see more people. This is great. Awesome. Jonathan, I see you. Regine, I see you. Vince, Christopher, I see you guys. Thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen. I have my little PowerPoint up here. I promise I will not do death by PowerPoint. We are going to go live to some sites that we're going to mention. We're going to talk about AI. When should you, when shouldn't you, and what does that look like?
I love that.
So important that we don't just copy and paste it over, because people like Flore can tell. So we'll talk about our do's and don'ts there. So let me just get this shared with y'all. Go. And here.
Yeah, definitely. If you are listening to this recording, or if you just joined us, please stay till the end, because there's so much really good. The juiciest stuff, I would say, is at the end.
Oh, okay. Still listen to me in the beginning, though, too.
Yes, but still listen in the beginning, because there's good stuff at the beginning, too. But, we don't leave it off until, there's really good stuff at the end, too.
Can everybody see my screen okay? Does it look like a normal one?
I think I see your screen. Anybody else? Yes. Okay, thanks, Anurag.
All right. Well, let's go right ahead here then. We're going to talk about preparing for the resume, how we create kind of a really competitive resume. I've been meeting with a lot of employers lately who say, I've got 100 internship position open, and I got 3,000 applicants. So this is kind of so much of the strategy of creating a really effective resume that also stands out and doesn't just look like everyone else's. So we're going to talk about preparation and the different sections you should have, what that looks like, what the details look like, putting it together, and as we mentioned already, using AI. So let's go forward here. We want to know what we have to offer, especially what makes us unique. We're going to talk about how we can put those experiences and skills on here that are unique to us. So, of course, from our educational background, everyone's coming out with a degree from George Mason. And if we put our coursework on there, there is some pros and cons to how we can do this. If I'm just going to list the courses I've taken and I'm a finance concentration, everybody else can do the same thing. And so we really want to go into some more detail there and what that looks like that we're putting in our education section. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Our experiences. I am not one who is a fan. I just met with somebody today who had chopped off. We were talking about, oh, and then I did this for Deloitte and I did this. And I said, that's not even on your resume. I didn't have room, so I chopped it off. Those are the juiciest pieces. We can do some formatting magic if you're still trying to fit it on that one page, how we can highlight our skills and what that should look like. So if you want to just take a second and write down 5 to 10 strengths or skills that you possess. So maybe that's leadership, attention to detail, communication, analytical skills. One of the things that pops up that students don't realize, if you have done any kind of customer service role, have you ever calmed down somebody who's angry and unhappy? That's conflict management. That's conflict resolution. That is being able to adopt your communication style based on what works for other people and kind of hear those cues. Flore, what's your input here?
Absolutely. I love what you're saying here. What I'll say and what you might not know is that many recruiters probably are just prioritizing the first half to third of the first page. You have to earn the privilege of me scrolling down to see the rest, because a lot of the ATS applicant tracking systems, when we're going through the resumes that we've sorted and filtered out, we're not seeing the whole page. We're seeing that first half to the first third of the top of that page if we're looking within that system. And so that's prime real estate. I don't know who said that you should put your education at the bottom. Never, never. I'm looking for it at the top. Okay. I don't know who said put, some of your top skills at the bottom. Never, never. Put it at the top. Make me want to say yes, 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 not no. I don't know. Where is it? I'm not sure. Oh, I'm out of page. I'm going to go on to the next. As opposed to the people that I say yes to, it's like this. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And then you're going in the yes pile. I probably won't even look at the rest of your first page. So I want to say there's 3 things that I say with the resume. Make it memorable. Okay. Metrics matter. Okay. And then the other M is really about I forget the other M, for God's sakes. It just flew out of my, but what do I mean by metrics matter? That's the details, right? The quantifiable, like the numbers part. And I know you're going to talk about this probably, Kelly. Maybe I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, but yeah, this part, writing down your strengths, your attributes, leadership, attention to whatever it is, look at the job description and tailor it. All right. I know that Kelly's going to talk about this juicy thing that I can't say that only GMU has it, but very few schools have, that'll make you be able to do it really quickly at the end. But that's what's going to separate your resume from others, is can I see direct correlation between what we need and what you've got, right? And it doesn't always experience. It might be your education. It might be a different part of your skill set. It might be relationships that you have. Right? So I need to see that. And then, make it mobile. That's the first thing. That's the other thing, right? Make it mobile means that it's got to be formatted in a way that I can skim it quickly.
Right. Yeah. We kind of talk about, put in the Cliff's Notes version at the top there, right? Like draw me in. So I want to read this whole thing, don't make me, like you said, scavenger hunt through the whole thing to see if you're a great fit or not. So we'll talk about.
I don't have time. Yeah. Too many resumes.
Yep.
Love it. These are all great.
And if folks are kind of, if you're struggling to identify what some of your strengths or skills are, we do offer the Clifton Strengths Finder at our office, which can help.
I love that. You guys have that too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me tell you guys, that Clifton Strengths Finder is hundreds of dollars if you were trying to do that by yourself.
Mm.
Okay, it is incredible. It gives you so much insight into exactly these types of information. What are the attributes that you possess? You may not be a braggy type of person like me, right? So maybe you're not really sure how you come off or what it is that is your superpower. That Clifton Strengths Finder is amazing because it comes to you in a series of questions, and it literally read me like a book, like hooked on phonics, if you guys
Yeah.
know what that is. If you guys don't know what that is. All right.
It's
That's some
helpful. In
great
fact,
answers in here.
I was just going through with somebody too. The other reason this is helpful is not just for your resume, but for those interviews, right? Because we talk about strengths and weaknesses and all that kind of stuff in an interview. And what's really nice is in that strength, um, they actually tell you, hey, these are your top 5 strengths, but here are the blind spots of having that strength. So you can kind of prepare for interview questions that way and say, okay, well, this, I know my strength is for instance, I just went over this with a student today who was practicing for an interview, and one of his strengths was being competitive, right? And so then we talked
Mm,
about what's the pros and cons of that strength, and how does that sometimes get in the way, and how do you work
mm.
around that? So,
I
um,
love it. You know
yeah,
what it's also good for is if you're exploring careers and you're just trying to figure out, what kinds of careers would be a good match for me, but you're not really sure what you have to contribute and it's a great thing to go to. Take that assessment and then talk to your career advisor, talk to the career center, and they can help to match you with careers that are good for the strengths that you have. It's not always about your major.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing we offer too is the strong interest inventory. So if you
That's
are
another great one.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. If you're trying to figure out, is this the concentration for me? I'm not really sure. That is a really helpful tool because that actually gives you concrete job titles to explore further based on what your interests are. So those are 2 really great tools to discover about yourself or used it for self-discovery there. Okay. So ask yourself, why should an employer hire you over someone else? So this common interview question, as well as something you should have in mind when you are trying to create a really competitive resume. So emphasize your strengths, as we were just talking about, on your resume, in your cover letters, and in your interviews. It may sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people simply list everything they've ever done. Convey your passion and link your strengths to measurable results, which of course Flore was just talking about with those metrics. Employers and interviewers love concrete data, and you heard it here just a moment ago, right? So know what the employer wants to see, create an employer wish list. So read that job description, pull out those keywords. There are AI tools that will help you figure out what in the heck those words are. This list kind of becomes your checklist for your resume. But the other thing I want to note, this is also your checklist for preparing for an interview, right? Because when you're looking through that job description, look through each bullet point and be able to answer, tell me of a time you did this. They want advanced Excel. You should be able to tell me of a time you used advanced Excel. They say attention to detail. Tell me of a time you used attention to detail. So this is a good framework for both your resume and that interview preparation. Okay. So 3 rules of resume. Every resume has a purpose. Everything on your resume must reflect the purpose, and order your resume from the most relevant to the least relevant. And we'll talk about what that kind of looks like in our teaser we have sort of formatting wise at the front. Most recruiters spend 7 seconds reviewing a resume, so formatting is everything. We were just talking about that at the very beginning. So here is just a sample, right? What do we see at the very top? But this is setting the framework, right? Here is your summary. Here's what you get to look forward to in the rest of this resume. And this is, of course, based on stuff from that job announcement. So let's read this one real quick. Finance student with a background in financial analysis, budgeting, and risk management, proficient in utilizing financial modeling and quantitative techniques to analyze complex data and inform strategic decision making. adept at financial statement analysis with a keen eye for detail and accuracy. Now, I can guarantee you financial analysis, budgeting, risk management, attention to detail, those are in that job announcement, right? They are utilizing those keywords from the job announcement and saying, hey, everything you're looking for, I got it. Now, these bullet points in the 2 columns here, that's the skills section that Flore and I were just talking about. You do not want to bury that at the very bottom of that resume. Doesn't do anybody any good there because they might not still be reading. So again, don't let the employer have to do that scavenger hunt to figure out if you got what it takes, right? If you got what we're looking for, just put it right at the top. And then as Flore likes to see, as she just said, stick that education right towards the top. So I can see you have what I'm sure is in the job announcement, must have a degree in this or be working on a concentration in this. And then we can sort of start framing maybe relevant projects, coursework, again, coursework that sets us apart from other people, not just reiterates what everybody else who's also a finance concentration person did in the class. And then some experience, maybe some extracurricular stuff. Flore, any thoughts?
Yeah. Please put your expected month and year of graduation. I don't know who started this thing where people tell us when they start. I don't care when you start. I care when you're done. So definitely do it. And so in some resumes, they just take it off entirely. I don't know why.
Right.
I need to know the month and the year of your graduation or your expected graduation if you were to continue as you are, so that I know when you're available and out of school. So that's the only thing but everything that you said, Kelly, correct.
So Flore, I'm going to ask you a question because I hear two things on this with the GPA on here. Kind of the rule of thumb that we sort of follow is, if it's a 3.0 or above, go ahead and slap it on there. But then I've also heard a counter to that saying, if you don't put your GPA on there, the employer might assume that it's not great, and that's why you're leaving it off. What from a recruiter standpoint, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the hiring manager and their expectations, but as a rule, for our internship program and for most of the screening that I do, we do not have a GPA requirement. So I don't even notice it anymore, to be honest. If it is, a high GPA and you want to flaunt it, it doesn't hurt you. But if you decide to take it off or you don't have at least a 3.0, it's not going to hurt you. You may have a hiring manager that will ask you, what is your GPA? But it should be listed if it's a requirement in the job description. Okay. Fun fact, if you're going to be denied a position, and it's something that's required, you should be asked it at some point in the application process, right? If it's like a deal breaker. So, I have not yet in the 3.5 years that I have been working at Maximus, well, longer than that. So at the beginning, when I first started, we did ask for GPA for our accounting and finance, but now they've eliminated that. So, I'll say for many, many years, we have not asked for a GPA for any specific role at all at Maximus. And I'm seeing that it's less of a barrier than it used to be. So don't lie, for sure. Don't lie. And don't worry about it if you're not at the higher level that you would like to be, because it's not necessarily a deal breaker anymore like it used to be. I see you're on camera, James. Thank you. I love that. Be safe.
So we have our contact information at the top. We can certainly help you in our office create a really nice LinkedIn profile. You'll notice too how slick that profile URL looks because they have customized it. When you set up a LinkedIn account and it puts a whole line of gibberish at the end of your URL, like AB123, blah, blah, there is a super easy way to customize it. So dazzle the employer by customizing that, sticking that LinkedIn profile, the URL profile at the top. And also, if you don't have a fabulous looking LinkedIn, I would not be waving that in front of the employer, right? So my husband got out of the military and I finally got him to get a LinkedIn profile looked at his resume, and then I went to his LinkedIn, and he had like half the information. And I said, I just went from your resume to your LinkedIn profile to learn less about you, not more. And what I wanted to do was find out more. I wanted to see a really slick, nice professional picture on there. And I wanted to see what couldn't you fit on this one page that kind of tells me even more. So again, we have a whole separate class on LinkedIn. We do have another one coming up with an employer partner towards the beginning of December. So if you do not have, or you're not really sure if your LinkedIn profile is looking recruiter ready, that is something we can help you with. But I just wanted to make note of that if you're going to put that up at the top of your resume there, okay? So we can talk about other things that we include in here, course projects. We talk about coursework, research, honors and awards, professional associations, volunteering, all that kind of good stuff. So you can see this fancy little demo here where we put these sections, right? Volunteer extracurricular experience, we can put that at the bottom. Skills kind of not buried at the bottom, but rather more towards the top. So name, make it the biggest thing on that resume at the top. Address, you no longer need to tell employers exactly where you live. Now, it might be on the application piece of it, and that's fine, but you do not need to put it on the resume itself. City and state will suffice. If you're moving out of the area, you might not want to advertise that you're in DC, right? Because I'm moving to, let's say, South Carolina, and you don't want them to think you're going to ask for relocation costs or something. You don't want to raise any red flags. That's totally fine. So if you are, again, looking outside the local area, that is something we can leave off. Otherwise, if it is asked for on the application, go ahead and put it on there. Nice phone number, include your area code. Have an email on there. Now, keep in mind, you might not have your GMU email account forever. If you have an email account from high school, what does that look like? Does it look professional? Is it first name, last name, or is it kellykittycat@gmail.com, which I thought was really cute when I was 15, but isn't necessarily what I want to be advertising on my resume. So make sure you have a nice professional looking email address that you're going to put on there. We talked about customizing the LinkedIn, and you can see an example of what this kind of looks like there. Okay. Now, professional summary. This is sort of optional. I'd love to hear your input on this, but we can include both the hard skills and the soft skills. It doesn't have to be all one or the other, but just keep in mind, what would the employer be looking for, right? Maybe they want somebody, as we talked about, who has advanced Excel, but can calm down an angry customer. These are both really awesome skill sets to have that could be unique to you from your background in working in customer service, especially if it's something like even waitressing or those really tough customer service roles where you do have the fast pace, you have people who are crabby and all that kind of stuff, and you have to work it all the time. So this communication skills are really handy there. You can include both. And then we can talk about, what we can put the skills section right underneath. Some people just start with a relevant skills section and then go into education. There's a couple different formats you can use for that. So education, we want to list our bachelor's. We have all are working on a bachelor's of science in business or a master's, right? One of our master's programs. I see a lot of bachelor of finance, right? No, you guys all get the bachelor of business. Give yourself credit for that. And the concentration can be after that. If you're working on a minor or even certifications, you can throw that in there. As Flore said, please put that expected date off on the right there. Don't do your start date to present, right? Like fall 2025 to present. That doesn't tell me when you're going to be available to work for me. So anything there. And actually, Flore, I want to go back here for a second. Can you give me your 2 cents on the professional summary versus starting out with key qualifications instead? Or do you read the summary? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like having it because it goes back, it speaks to what you said about purpose, right? It helps to connect the dots and make it creates context for the rest of your resume. I just don't like it to be too long, like this is 4 lines, perfect. Really make it a summary, or key qualifications shouldn't be like half the page because, I want to get into the nitty gritty of the details. Are you qualified, right? Because usually that's what I'm scanning for. And this is like hopefully going to whet my appetite to scroll further. So yeah, I do like it, but again, make it brief, 4-5 lines at the most, and make it tailored to what I'm actually looking for, or don't include it at all. Then just have one line that you're aspiring to be, whatever, associate analyst or, human resources intern, whatever the case may be, and then make the rest of your resume, count with what you actually have to put in there for experience, education, and so forth, skills, and so forth and so on.
Okay, we have a hand up here. Somebody
Oh, yeah. MD.
Put your question in the chat or take yourself off mute.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
So I am actually a freshman and my concentration is finance for now. So how do I write in the professional summary? Like, do I write myself as a business student or someone who is aspiring to become like a finance student? Or since like my plan is to go for CFA, so do I just write that?
Yeah, good question. So we've had folks do it both ways. You could say finance student offering experience or background in business finance student offering experience in, you could say student in the process or in BS with focus on finance, BS in business, focus on finance. Flore, how would you like to see them on your end?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to put your education on there no matter what. So you don't necessarily have to tell me that you're a finance student because I'm going to see that in your education and I'm going to see at what level you are. I think what I would do is it'll give me that summary or what they call a positioning statement should just give me the purpose of your resume. Where are you hoping to go? If you're exploring careers in finance, then I know that you're broad and you don't really have a specific goal. But if your goal is to be a certified financial advisor, right? Aspiring a certified financial advisor is what you should have as your positioning statement, because then I know that's where you want to go. You want to work within a specific niche that finance education is going to prepare you for. And so your opportunities hopefully are going to be targeted towards that purpose. Does that help? Is that what you meant, Kelly?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so true. And I think also the caveat there too is what we want to avoid is saying, looking for an opportunity at Maximus, right? Aspiring business, business student, aspiring this, looking like, I know you are. You've just wasted some of the most valuable real estate on this resume, telling us both something we already know. You want this job and that's why you applied for it. Similar to that, don't tell me, I was just looking through internship applications for an internship that we had open for spring. And the first part of it was how much they can't wait to work for the CIA. And I was like, how does that relate to this marketing intern or this web design intern that I have? So you have to relate it to the position, right? Tell me why.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So remember on that experience section, that section is not called full-time paid experience, right? So this can be part-time. This can be an internship. You can even toss some volunteer work in there. You can even toss some student group piece in there. Anything that has given you some professional experience, whether it was paid or not, can go in that section, okay? And then otherwise, you can also break it down. Okay, now here, I am about to show you the best kept secret on campus next to the AI thing, Flore. And this is Forage. Forage is just incredible. It's a really great way when we run into that kind of catch-22 of this place has an opening for an entry-level position or an entry-level student, but they kind of want some experience. But how do I get that experience if I don't, nobody's going to hire me for the entry level? So this is a really great way to bridge that gap and get a little bit of experience. Similarly, let's say we have students who maybe they have a lot of great work experience, but it's not necessarily related to what they want to do. Okay, so I want to be a data analyst and I have worked some really great customer service jobs. Is there some transferable skills? Absolutely. Yes, please. Do not take that off your resume. However, what I want to show you right now, let's take a journey to Forage for a second. Because, and I'll pop it in our chat as well. It is the coolest thing, you guys. All right. Hang tight. Let me put it in my chat. I'm going to share this. So as long as you are a student at Mason, you have access to this free resource. And if you go to Forage and you go up here to Explore, you will find all these really cool resources, right? Career paths. But what I want to focus on is these job simulations. So I'm going to go to View All. Anybody ever heard of any of these companies? These little teeny companies called Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo and PwC and KPMG, Bank of America. So here's how cool these are. Like I mentioned, I'm just going to use this as an example. I want to be a data analyst. Again, I've been a waitress. I've not been a data analyst. I need to get a little more data analyst stuff on my resume. Maybe I've got some coursework, but so does everybody else. So how can I stand apart from everyone and gain a little more data analytics experience? And here we go. Under career interest, I just selected data. Here are a whole bunch of data analytics related little job simulations that I can do for free in less than a day, right? Any teeny little company here called JP Morgan. And this is just 6 to 7 hours. This one's 3 to 4. This one's 3 to 4. So if I'm trying to stand apart from the other 3,000 students who also applied for this job in data analytics, especially if they're from my same school or we have similar background or coursework, here's a great way to do it. And you can even see what level. So these are intermediate. This one's introductory. This one is advanced. Those are the 3 levels they can be. And if we pull up, let's just pull up this JP Morgan. Ooh, and they're hiring now. So that's a really good tidbit there. Let's see if it'll pull up here. It's going to say, hey, why would you want to bother completing this job simulation? Well, because this is the kind of stuff you're going to learn. Here's how it works. There's usually a little thing down here which says, as part of each of these tasks, here's what you'll learn. Here's what you'll do. Task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4. And here's the even cooler part. When you get to the finish line, they're going to give you a snippet to add to your resume, and they're going to give you a snippet to talk about in your interview. Okay? So this is just the coolest, you guys. Again, what a quick and easy way to gain some hands-on experience, prove to the employer you can do the job because you've done these job simulations that they have set up in this system. And then you can put them either under experience, under relevant coursework and projects. So either one of those would work, but again, and I want to go back here just a second and see, this isn't just data analytics, okay? So I know that under business, we have all these different concentrations. Here's accounting, banking and finance, consulting, here's project management, HR, marketing, there's even cyber, all sorts of wonderful ones on here, okay? So take advantage of this resource to help you stand apart from everybody else, build up some of that experience, proving that you can do the job. All right, that's my high horse on Forage.
Yeah, Forge is amazing. We're not on there yet, but I would definitely use it if I didn't have experience that I wanted to kind of leverage, because these are real projects that the company could be looking at.
Right. And especially, I mean, I'm going for a job at Wells Fargo, and I got Wells Fargo on my resume with some job simulations that they put on Forge platform. Man, do I look slick, right? So required information we want to have in this experience section, our job title, the name of the employer, where it was located, maybe it's remote, that's okay. Dates, our duties, responsibilities, and accomplishments. What we want to avoid are job duty statements. What we want are accomplishments, okay? So what do I spy with my little eye right here? These wonderful quantifiers that Flore was talking about, right? So for here, provided project management for the ABC rollout, effectively planned, skill number 1, coordinated, skill number 2, Facilitated, skill number 3, major projects for an organization increasing enrollment by 50%, right? There's my wonderful result with a number. Each one of these bullet points on your resume is an opportunity to not just list the job duty, but the skills and the strengths it took to accomplish that. And then what was the result? Or even we talk about, you know, when I was back in waitressing, did I help people and serve orders all day? Or did I work in a fast-paced environment with memory recall, you know, and work with 300 plus customers per day, ensuring customer satisfaction by this and that. So these are some examples here. We are going to send you a sample resume too when we finish afterwards, and I'll send you the PowerPoint. But this is what we're talking about, right? Kind of expanding. Flore, anything you want to add on that?
Sorry, I was looking for my button.
Yeah, I
mute
understand.
myself. Yeah, no, I love everything that you said. Exactly what I said. If you are applying for, let's say, a data analytics or a finance position or any position in which, oh, I don't know, numbers are, excuse me, facility with numbers is expected, and you don't have data on your resume, I'm kind of wondering, you know, did you miss the plot? You know, because obviously that is part of it. I want to see that you are understanding percentages, right? If you can tell me, you know, the percentage that you increased efficiency or reduced waste or time, because those are resources that are valuable, right? What about telling me how frequent, right, that you're doing something? Are you generating a monthly report, a weekly report? An annual report is a big deal. It's a year's worth of information, you know, that you're compiling. So percentages, numbers, dollars, of course, frequency, these are all types of things that elevate your resume to that accomplishments level because it talks about results, right? So quantifiable, measurable, make it measurable, right? I told you about that. That's also important. So yeah, I love what you said.
Okay, so we're looking at around 3 to 5 bullet points per experience. You know, we can use those most relevant skills that we want kind of towards the top under each one. They do not have to be complete sentences. We don't use I, me, my, any of that. I know it's hard when we're in an academic setting and you guys are writing formal papers all the time that have to have all the things, but we don't have to write these. And you can see from the example too, it's not, hang on here. Let's see if I can find my slide one more time. See, provided project management for ABC rollup, right? That's not necessarily a complete sentence per se. We can say I provided project management for, but we can make it shorter, and that's totally okay. Use strong action verbs to start our bullet. Let's see if we managed to do that over here. Provided, communicated, managed, developed, facilitated, coordinated, right? So that's the type of strong action verbs that we want to be starting our bullet points with. Provide evidence of those skills, right? We want to quantify it as we just keep talking about over and over and over again. Focus on those skills you gained, your accomplishments. Here's me, right? I am the waitress and I waited on tables and served food. Is that accurate? Yes. Is that an accomplishment? No, right? An accomplishment would be utilize strong communication skills, excellent order recall, and multitasking while serving 300 plus people a day, achieving 99% guest satisfaction score. Now, is this true? No, I did not. But in this case, it is. This is not an example of my waitressing days, but just so we kind of get an idea of what this looks like, let's do a little practice here. Take a few minutes to modify these duty bullet points into accomplishment statements. So maintain a positive attitude while dealing with negative customers. And we come up with one there. And
that's a good one.
Go ahead. Yeah, these are ones that come up. I have seen these on resumes. Managed cash transactions. I swear I saw that on a resume 6 hours ago.
So vague. Can we get any more vague?
Right. Ensure cleanliness of the kitchen and assisted with stocking inventory. So when I worked with folks who were in the military, they would have these wonderful, gorgeous, quantifiable accomplishments, because every year they met with their supervisor and they did what's called a fit rep, which is where they have just accomplishment, all in bullet point format, and it looks gorgeous, right? However, we have to ask ourselves what I call the so what. Why would the employer care about this, right? So when you are looking at a job announcement and you're looking at your resume and you're reading that bullet point, ask yourself, so what? Why would the employer care? So here's an example. Some person from the military said, hauled 5 tons of dirt across the desert in wartime conditions. And you're like, that's amazing. That is not something everybody has done. And that is not relevant to this data analyst job, right? Or this vice president or manager job. However, if there's something in that job announcement that talks about performing well under pressure, you get to use that, but you have to use that key word. Say perform well under pressure. Wow, hauling 5 tons of dirt across the desert. Okay, now as the employer, it makes sense why you brought this up. You made it relevant. So if you are reading those statements, let's take this one, ensure cleanliness of the kitchen. Okay, that's great, especially if you're going for another job where you're going to have to keep a kitchen clean. But does it make sense to bring up? Or is there some piece of this, like attention to detail or foreseeing what was going to be out of stock that you needed to order, or some other pieces that could be relevant to a job in the future? That's what you need to work into that statement to make it relevant. Sometimes you won't be able to. Sometimes they'll say, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. There's no keywords that I can work into this to make this relevant. Let's just kind of check it. Okay. All right. I'm going to check our chat. See if anybody has.
Yeah, you got one.
There we
person.
go. Yes. Handle cash transactions with accountability and accuracy. Yes. And I would even say utilized attention to detail while handling cash transactions with accountability and accuracy. Yep.
Yeah, I would even take it a step further and put a stat in there, you
There we
know?
go. There we go.
You know, is there a stat that you could put in there? Maybe, you know, handled cash transactions with 95% accuracy, maybe, you know, that way, I mean, you're really trying to show, you know, to what extent or the volume or the level that you can work. You can also say, you know, routinely manage, you know, cash transactions within the, you know, $100,000 and $300,000 range, you know, if you're in a brokerage firm, let's say. You know, again, any numbers, and you know, don't write out the number, like actually show the number, right? Because that helps me to skim. It catches my eye and it makes things right. Utilize attention to detail while handling 300 plus cash transactions per day with accountability and accuracy. Love it. It stands out. It lets me, that number gives me an idea of the scale and the scope of the work that you're doing. Anurag said, I'll use that on my resume. Good for you. Exactly. That's the whole point. We're trying to bring your resume beyond the job responsibilities to another level where you are actually giving me a portrait of your accomplishments. I love it.
The skills section, we talked about being able to work into the professional summary or as its own, right? And then you can call it relevant skills, areas of expertise, core competencies. But again, let's not bury this at the very bottom. This is the good stuff. And of course, it is relevant to the job. We're going to make sure of that. But the other thing too is think of this as sort of like that teaser statement. Don't tell me you have these skills and then never mention them again on your resume, right? You want to see that backed up in your experience. Maybe, let's say advanced Excel. I keep bringing that up as an example. Maybe I didn't use that in my waitressing job, but I did use it in this course. So I'm going to bring up that course and then talk about how I used it on the job. Flore, anything to add there?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, sometimes I have seen also where somebody is putting something that sounds impressive for another type of job. It's really not relevant to my position. So the relevance of your resume is key, you know, tailoring your resume so that it addresses those key qualifications and competencies that the job description is looking for is everything, right? Because it might be a non-starter if the job description is saying that you have to have, 2 years of experience doing such and such, or exposure to a specific platform is a preference, and you didn't put it on your resume, but somebody else did, I'm going to go to the other resume. So, you really want to be looking at that in a very specific way.
Okay, so just keep in mind here's some things to keep in mind going forward. There's no perfect resume. We could have 15 HR people here, and they're all going to give you their own preference. I know that somebody had brought their resume to Deloitte at one of the career conferences or the career fairs that we had on campus, and they said, "What is this paragraph at the top?" Like, I just want to see the skills. Right.
They didn't like the summary. Yeah, there's some recruiters that are kind of like down on the summary, but I mean, you're right. It's nothing perfect.
Right. And nobody's going to, that person is not going to not call that person for an interview because they started with a paragraph, right? So you just never know. But I think, again, that paragraph or having the skills at the top and just framing what to expect, know that I should be looking for these skills somewhere else on this resume, that you got exactly what I'm looking for. Like Flore said too, she's busy. She's, going through all these different resumes. So you have to be able to just glance at it and say, yes, 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 no, maybe later I'll read the whole thing, or maybe I won't because I can already see what I'm looking for. So this is a living document. We are going to customize this. We are going to update it. You just joined this student group. That's great. Make sure we add that. That is a wonderful way to stand apart. My heart breaks for the students who come into my office and they didn't join any student groups and they didn't work. They just focused on their studies. And now they're in competition with all these people who did both, right?
Forage. That's why Forage exists.
That's right. Right. So keep it says keep you, I'll have to fix that one. Keep your language and formatting concise. Provide that concrete evidence that we're talking about. When in doubt, ask, is this relevant? What I just talked about in that last slide. How does this help the employer? What's the result? What transferable skills apply to this job? Create a master resume. So that is something you can do. You're not going to turn it into an employer, but you can have it as long as you want. It's going to be every single thing you ever did. You can have 10 bullet points after all your previous jobs. And then you're going to use those to copy and paste into a beautiful 1 to 2 page document, depending on how much experience you have, that is tailored for that specific job. Now, here we go to the AI stuff. The biggest red flag hiring managers look for in job candidates is an AI-generated resume, according to new research from Resume Genius. Okay, so ATS, this is used, and again, Flore, why don't you did talk about the ATS earlier, so if you want to go and kind of explain what that is, how employers use it.
Yeah. So ATS is an applicant tracking system. It's a way for us to manage all of the applications, that we might get for a position and the resumes that are attached to them. But it's, I think a misnomer to say that, we don't want you to use AI. We want you to use it responsibly and know that we're using it also, because our applicant tracking system has AI elements built in. So fun fact, we had over 15,000 applications for our internship program last summer. We hired 45 interns. Did my eyeballs look at all 15,000 applications? I'd still be looking. No, but we definitely use some elements of AI to help us sort through those keywords that we're looking for, right? We're looking for applicants that are part of our, partnership schools. GMU is a partnership school. So, we're going to sort through those applicants. Then we're going to look at applicants that might have been referred. Then we're going to look at applicants that have, obviously, the qualifications that we're looking for, right? Those keywords that are part of the job description should also be reflected, justifiably on your resume. So I have to say, using AI as a starting point for your resume is good, but then you want to make sure that it accurately and best represents you once it's done, right? So it should be you matching text parsing like we're doing on the other end, because we're going to rank your resume based on, or your application based on all of those features that the ATS helps us to manage that large volume. So I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that's, I mean, that's what I want to kind of say to start us off with this AI piece is use it for sure. It's going to save you some time, valuable time. We do too, but also we don't want to miss out on anybody. So, you know, if you are not sure whether or not your resume was fairly reviewed, you've got time to reach out to a connection, because Kelly knows me, right? And she might say, hey, somebody applied and they got an automatic rejection, but I think they're qualified. Can you check? Of course I'm going to check. So that's the benefit of having a partnership school like we have with GMU.
Yeah, and also speaks to the importance of, as we keep talking about, don't create this cookie cutter resume that you just use the same resume and shuffle it out like a deck of cards and hope something sticks, right? This has to be customized, because those employers on the other end are using an applicant tracking system, and it is scanning and looking for the keywords that were in that job announcement. Also, be real careful about getting some resume templates off the web, because even Google Docs and stuff, maybe it looks super cute and it's got a little picture up here and the whole left side is a poem with your skills. That ain't ATS friendly at all. So there are certain formats that you have to have. You can't have things in a text box. It's gonna read it in a certain way, and so that is why our formats that we really promote to students are all ATS friendly. So something.
Yes, I can underscore that. I love the formatting that you guys use in career services. It is easy to scan, doesn't give me a whole lot of unnecessary white space, is styled the right way. I love it. So if I can give you any advice, definitely, have them look at it, because I can already tell a lot of times if you haven't gone to the Career Center.
Oh, we want to make sure we're using AI responsibly, like we talk about, this is a tool. We don't just copy and paste it over. But also, you do not ever put your personal contact information, because those systems remember that stuff. Also, we want to make sure that we're not avoiding plagiarism. But remember, the whole point is to stand apart from the competition in a good way. And if you and I put in the same prompt and it spits out the same answer, and we just copy and paste and put that on our resume, it defeats the purpose, right? The whole point is to not only maybe come up with a better way I could phrase this, that's fine. But again, if it's going to be generating the same information for us based on those same prompts, we really want to stand apart in a good way, not in a way that, oh, I can clearly tell that these people use the same prompt in their ChatGPT or whatever they decided to use. So that's all.
Yeah, I can definitely say I've been to, not a GMU, but I've been to a career fair where I was getting, the people were asking, would I take a resume? And, typically I don't, but I do quick audits. And I saw the same phrasing, the same exact phrasing for like 5 to 10, like a whole group of people came in and they gave me basically the exact same resume, and the name was different. I was like, what is this? This is not helpful. This is not helping you to stand out. You all look the same. And I know you're not. So yeah, I agree with you, Kelly.
Yeah, never set it up so that you and I could just swap the names at the top of our resume. That is not going to get us anywhere. So here are some sample prompts. In fact, when I'm working with students and they are trying to understand the difference between a job duty statement and an accomplishment, I will take that job duty statement and I'll put it into an AI tool and say, make this into an accomplishment statement incorporating 2 to 3 skills or strengths I used on the job and some fake quantifiers. And then I'm not going to copy and paste that, but I'm at least going to see an example of what that should look like. What would be an example of what a statement would look like from a job duty to an accomplishment? And then I can use that as my framework to make it true and add the appropriate quantifiers and skills in there. So what are some keywords from this job announcement that I should mention on my resume? You can copy and paste and put the job announcement in there. Help me incorporate the keywords from this job posting, and then the job announcement goes into my resume, which of course we're going to copy and paste without our personal information. Create a professional summary to appeal to employers in this industry. Again, none of this is copied and pasted, right? We're always tweaking. How can I better quantify my achievements in my resume, as we talked about, throwing those numbers in there. And then here are just some others, but the one I want to talk about here, this is what Flora was mentioning, we do have our own AI tool within Career Services, Office of Career Services at Costello. It is called Costello Career AI, the Inspire platform. Our AI tool is called Theo. You're looking for, and that will help you with resumes, cover letters, preparing for an interview, practicing your pitch. You're going to be, look at that hearts. You're going to be at a career fair coming up and you want to see how your personal pitch is sounding, your elevator pitch. This will help you with all of that. Now, I would use this as a tool. You can certainly use that, but still come to our office where you're actually going to be talking to a human being and practicing for that interview and all the things. But this is a really great starting point. So I will give you when I email you all afterwards, there is a request form where you can request access to it, and we will put your start an account for you, and you'll be able to use that platform. Okay, very cool though. All right, as a final note, always check for grammar and spelling and typos. Oh my gosh, I am notorious for saying like in instead of is, which is not necessarily going to get picked up all the time, depending on which, spell check I'm using, because it's not misspelled. But so reading the resume out loud really helps. I just went over this next bullet point with somebody today. Make sure that your resume, your cover letter is first name, last name, resume. You can say Maximus at the end of it. That's fine. But I can see from the employer, Flore can see what you have saved this document as. So you do not want it to be blue template 2, -3 or whatever.
Agreed. I love that. Yes. And it helps me to organize it too. So definitely do that. And what do you think about saving it as a PDF?
Yeah, I think that's your safe bet. I know that I have seen, even especially with our office, for example, just today, somebody sent me their SharePoint, Google Doc saved version, and the formatting was totally off. And then when I download it as a Word, now it looks fine. So that, saving it as a PDF is really going to keep that formatting tried and true, because you're going to spend all this energy trying to make it look pretty, and then the worst thing would be, hey, good news, it made it through the ATS, but when Flore sees it, now everything is where it should not be, and it looks like a hot mess, right?
Yes, exactly.
So remember, the resume does not get you the job. We need to do some other steps, like a competitive cover letter. We need to network. We need to be talking to people who work there. A great way to reach out would be to reach out to through LinkedIn, people who are George Mason grads who work there. They got there, and they're going to probably be willing to help you do that too, or at least give you some advice. So the resume does not get you the job, but it can help you get an interview. And it's just one part of that job search process. We are here to help you with all the other pieces. So networking, cover letter, prepping for the interview. I just did that with a student 4 hours ago. Salary negotiation. A great resume can open doors, but a poor one can close them. Okay. And here's us. So we have drop-in hours 4 out of 5 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, it's in the afternoons. Thursday, Friday, it's in the mornings. You can do virtual, you can do in person. We have 30-minute appointments on all the topics listed there. You can set up appointments through Patriot Connect. And then here's our phone number and our email. As I mentioned, I was happy to send you the PDF of this PowerPoint, as well as a simple resume that we talked about. And finally, why would you want to follow us on our socials? Because we post jobs on here that sometimes aren't on Handshake. So grab your phone, go ahead and scan our Instagram QR there, or LinkedIn, because again, you will find content that you are not going to find elsewhere. Flore, thank you for joining us. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I love that you guys have drop-in hours. So, I used to advertise when I was in career services that I had drop-in hours, and I actually had students say, I don't know, I can't come in. I'm not sure I can make an appointment. And I'm like, drop-in means you don't need an appointment.
Yeah.
That means you can walk in, no appointment needed. So that's awesome that you guys, have appointments, but then you also have dedicated drop-in hours where people can just stop in whenever they have time. I love that.